Hello, in this video, I really want to talk about decentralized commands and how it really applied to ground units, the military, as well as business, according to Jocko Willink, who's this commander of Navy SEALs and also helps with training. Um, Plus, more importantly, how it really does apply to morale and someone's attitude, mood, uh, which is huge. It's very, very important. Before I begin, down below there's a link in the description. If you click on it, there's actually a training on how someone like yourself could really make some good money on the side using social media platforms. Now, I recently finished this book called Complete Ownership by Jocko Willink. And it's a very good book. He says some really cool things about decentralized command, which I want to share. Uh, Starts out with Joko talking to a CEO about branches in the company. I think it could have been like a bank, but I don't think it really specified. He asked him, the CEO, what the ideal size would be for a branch. And the CEO responds with about 4 to 6 people. And Joko said it made complete sense because the SEAL teams and the U.S. military, much like militaries throughout history, are based around building blocks of 4 to 6 man teams with a leader. They call these fire teams, and that's the ideal number for a leader to lead is just 4 to 6 people. That's it. Not like hundreds, just 4 to 6 people, okay? And sometimes with a particular operation, there might be 150 people, right? Joko said he did a lot of he was in charge of a lot of people in Iraq, and that's where he went to war with at. But with those men out there, Joko says that he could only truly lead, manage, and coordinate with about 4 to 6 people max. That's it. He dealt with 4 to 6 people, no more. That's the magic number. So he said something. He said he utilized decentralized command. So what does that mean, right? Well, what happens is he would talk to a platoon commander. That's who he talked to, just platoon commanders. Those platoon commanders would then pass down, okay, the information to squad leaders. Those squad leaders would then pass down the information to uh, fire team leaders, okay. And the CEO said something very interesting. He said, "Well, couldn't things get confusing? Kind of like that game, I don't know if you played it way back in school called Telephone, where you pass on some information to somebody, they pass it to somebody else, and after like 10 or 15 people, or who knows how many, it comes back completely different." You remember that? I think I did that in like elementary school or something. All right. Now, what Joko's response was very interesting. He said that this is why simplicity is so important. Simple, clear, concise orders that can be understood easily by everyone in the chain of command. It's so important, okay? Another key point that Joko said was that junior leaders, okay, must be empowered to make decisions and take initiative to accomplish whatever mission it is. And this was critical to the success on the battlefield. And it definitely applies directly to business, okay? No micromanaging. You ever had a boss who micromanaged you? I had. It's not fun. So as a leader, it does take strength to let go. It takes faith and trust in the people in your team to make decisions, and this isn't easy sometimes. We're scared of them making mistakes and screwing up. And it also applies to business and like when it comes to things like outsourcing, which can be so good for you, leverage your time. Um, I think the 4 hour work week, which is another book by Tim Ferriss, talked about outsourcing as an important part to reclaim your life and time, which is very important as it is. So the boss needs to walk away from the problem and let junior leaders solve it, even if the boss knows that he could do a better job. You got to just let go sometimes. Applies to the military, applies to your own life. And it is most important that junior leaders are allowed to make decisions and really back them up, even if they don't make them correctly. talk to people about them because it builds trust. Overcoming stress and challenging environments builds about trust in people, right? And working through emergencies and seeing how people react also builds that trust. And another very important piece of the puzzle when it comes to decentralized command, which I thought was very interesting, is that leaders must be confident that they understand the overall mission and goal. They must have trust that their senior leaders will back up their decisions. Without the trust, people can't make decisions, they can't execute, and um, they can't, they can't do this thing. Okay. And I know this in my own life when if you ever work for somebody and you do something and they just go off the hinges, and next thing you know, they're like, I don't want to touch that again, man. I don't want you know what I'm talking about? Um, and so to ensure this is the case, we'll go back to the military example here. Senior leaders must constantly communicate and push information, and what they call this in the military is situational awareness to their team, pushing information down so they understand what's going on and why they're doing things. And likewise, junior leaders must push situational awareness up the chain to their senior leaders to keep them informed, particularly of crucial information that really impacts the whole overall plan, the strategic decision making, they call it. Now, another probably the most important thing which I want to touch base on is morale. Morale is huge for the military, right? It's huge for businesses and just in your own life. If you don't have your thinking right, you ain't gonna do nothing, man. It all starts in your head. Um, and this is huge. I mean, he noticed that SEALs that suffer the worst combat fatigue, is burnout, just being like, I ain't, just depression, that's big in the military right now, right? Whose attitudes grew more negative as the months of heavy combat wore on, who most questioned the level of risk that they were taking in the operation. They all had the least ownership of the planning of the operation. They didn't have the ownership of that. And the SEAL operators who remained focused, positive, who believed in what they were doing, who were eager to continue and would have stayed on beyond their 6-month deployment if they could. They want to stay out there and do the mission. They all had some ownership of the planning process and each operation. It's pretty interesting, huh? Isn't it? And the SEALs with little or no ownership of the planning, they were in the dark, and as a result, they had a hard time understanding, why they were taking the risk and what impact they had in Iraq. And Jocko and his guys they were mostly in Ramadi, in this big city, which was a war zone and was hugely dangerous. And Jocko had, after he understood why they were there, why they were doing things, they were seeing the impact of, people that, innocent people getting killed and raped, and bringing back just a sense of security for the people because they had Iraqs with them. They were going to let them try to take control so that they could impact people's lives better than the insurgents. Then, he believed in what he was doing. If you don't have that, then you're like, well, why are we out here? Your morale's gonna suck, man. It's just gonna be like, it's not good. So that's what he talked about. And this isn't in the book. Joko had other SEALs write it, and one of his right hand man, I forget his name, but he wrote this section looking back. And one of the greatest lessons this SEAL learned, Navy SEAL, was that he could have done far better job of leading down the chain of command. He should have given greater ownership of plans to his men, his troops, especially those who were negative and weren't fully committed to the whole overall mission. Um, he should have taken time to better understand how they were doing, and how they can contribute to the overall mission and improve the morale. So I thought that was just really, really interesting. What do you think, huh? I thought it was fascinating. But if you like this video, just hit the thumbs up button. I appreciate that. If you are interested in really some earning some money online, which is always a great thing to do, then There's a link below. I really believe in the training. The reason why is because I've been in marketing online for a very long time, and this was probably the biggest mistake that I was making that really prevented me from my goal. And this training really helps somebody overcome that. So I hugely believe in it. I think it's great. So if you want to check it out, learn more, click the link below. I do wish you the best. Have a great day and take care.